Wow, can anybody see me now? Am I here? This is so embarrassing. I hate when this happens, but it's always like intermittent and unexpected. Can you guys see me now? Yay! Okay, I'm back. Okay, sorry guys. I'm really, really sorry. My internet's been weird. All right, so I am here. You are here. We are all here. Hello. Good evening. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Crow. So obviously, with all of this tomfoolery, because look at this, 3 minutes, freaking ridiculous. Let me go ahead and run the intro, and then we're just gonna get into it. I am sorry for wasting everyone's time. I promise it wasn't intentional. Restream, be acting like a little hoe. So, just so you guys know, when I'm talking about California, and by California, I mean kind of like anything MK, Manson-esque, Manson correlated that is in California, and it may also include the process, it may include Son of Sam stuff. I want to be able to categorize it under Cultifornia. I just think it'll be easier for people and it'll be easier for me, because I have a big catalog. I realize that now. Some of you guys have been chugging away like Gina G, leaving me comments, and it's like, you're amazing, and thank you so much for watching it. It's painful, in my opinion, because it's so long. But I'm gonna run the Cali intro for this, so I'll see you guys in a bit.
Wanna see me dead and shit. Motherfuckers really wanna see me leaking and shit. I don't give a rolling up that Mary Jane, ain't a damn thing changed, but my motherfucking dollars, blue faces be all around me though. What you talking about when you saying my name? Bitch, I came a long way from the fucking underground. Sip to you, cause I know it's sip to me. Beat me drowning in the whole liter of the Hennessy. Coming out the dirt, looking zombie, smoking all up on the perk. Yeah, I love my God G. Chasing thrills on the road to riches. Don't fuck around and get yourself killed for real. Crack a seal, crack a peel. Crackers love me cause I'm real. Hello, white America is blocker with the stainless steel. RP, PAT, I got lots of ghetto dreams, but I probably make it out the trap before they finish me. Pray to God every day, tell him save me from this place. Shit is dark and hell is hot. Have I paid for my mistakes? Niggas probably love me when rigor mortis inside my body. I live like Cardi, just falling off of the face of mommy. The devil want me, my government name what he be calling. Don't bend no break, this ain't Treyway, but nigga I feel like Shotty. 6 feet in the ground, I'm still trying to make it up out the dirt. Counting friends I lost in blue faces until my fingers hurt. Psycho dad and OG Bin Laden gon' help me with my nerve. Bitches plotting all cause I'm popping, but fuck it, let them twerk.
We are literally fighting demons out here, including internet demons, obviously, like my internet server. So since you guys had to wait, I'm not going to go back to the beginning of the chat. I'm not ignoring you guys, but I also don't want to waste people's time. Like, I feel bad because I know I end up like rambling anyway. Let me fix this. Okay, so I'm going to start out with something. So, for those of you that listen to Mr. William Ramsey, if you are on his Patreon, Leash recommended an episode where he interviews this gal named Parker. And he did a second interview that was released on the Patreon. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Oh, they're called Gremlins. Okay, well, then they're Gremlins. What is that movie with the cute little Gizmo? I used to have a stuffed animal of Gizmo. He was so cute. So, in regards to Parker and the things that I learned, I'm going to let everybody know I didn't realize that the audible version of The Ultimate Evil is not Terry's work. It's very heavily cut. That's completely nuts to me. So guess what? I'm starting over. How fun. We're going to start over. Obviously, I'm not going to like walk everybody through everything from the beginning. However, we are starting over. I'm coming back to the beginning. I'm going back through it. And Forensics has sent me some other Stanford crimes, some ritual crimes in particular, which, he brought up an interesting point. Why didn't, Terry investigate those things? I don't really know. But yeah, I'm going back to the beginning and I'm sticking with my initial theory, quite frankly, because I didn't know that and I feel really stupid. But that also shows you guys that, I'm literally new at this as far as the Son of Sam in particular. But I told you guys last time that I wanted to show you because I had looked into George Hunter White, and it would appear that I have found. Now, I don't know if there's any books out there about this guy, and I don't really care because I didn't look into it, not George Hunter White, but this other doctor. I want to show you guys this doctor because I have a feeling, especially in regards to Stanford, this is all going to come into play at a later time. Because this dude is involved in some super sus research, and I really wouldn't have found him without George Hunter White, so some people may not be familiar with him. I want to show you guys him as well. I had spoken about him with Paranoid American the last time that I was on there. He had brought it up because he's right. George Hunter White is a major missing piece that is equivalent to Jolly West. In my opinion, I think that he is, as far as MK Ultra, what people think about MK Ultra, the stuff that they were doing, and like his whole mob ties. I think what like Lucky Luciano, like the Mafia, and one of the, I call them trap houses because that's pretty much what they are, is like a modern day trap house. It's just being funded by the CIA. One of those was in New York. So I think that that's really interesting because you know who knows what they might have been doing. So I just want to get this semi ready and let me see. Don't trust landscape detectives. And I think you better start from the beginning. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Astro Creep 2000. Hell yeah. I'm going to make a schizo clip with that, Jay Snyder. I love that song. That's awesome. Podcaster told me understands my frustration having to go over from point A with every presentation. Yeah, I can't hear you watching on my Xbox though, so I don't know. Wait, are you bringing up who I think you are? Cultifornia was named such by Forrest J. Ackerman, who was Ron's first publisher. Forey had some mad links. Inside the trap house are the processed church members doing lines of cocaine. Straight up. Straight up. Because, so like people think of MK Ultra and they think of Jolly West and they think of LSD, and it's like, well, that's good and well. But we also know that they were running like a prostitution ring. They were running a prostitution ring straight up. And obviously like filming it. You know what I mean? Who knows what kind of blackmail is there? Let me see. Hello, Eric G. Good evening. Ivana, Bruce Perry ended up working with the cult awareness group. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah, he did. There's just a lot of weird stuff. One of the murders, I think his name is David Levine. One of the Stanford murders, his father was a professor at Cornell, I believe. He's from Ithaca, New York. That whole situation is just super sus. I mean, obviously, like I'm not saying I'm starting over from the beginning and we're walking through all of the information again. We're starting with the information that we have, but I feel like I can go back, read that book, and get a better understanding because wouldn't you know it, the documentary, the Cropsey documentary, and this newest version of The Ultimate Evil, it's the exact same people that have been gatekeeping all of this information. And I just think that that is, I don't know how people don't see that this is a major red flag about the process stuff, guys. I think that this is pretty ridiculous. And I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. Whatever. I really don't care. I think that Lucian Greaves is a Fed, like straight up. I mean, obviously, I think that he's a simp for Satan, but I also think that he's a Fed. Because the fact that like he has access to all of this information and that he has the authority, or like authority, so to speak, as far as controlling everything, yeah, I think that he's a Fed. I just think that he's a pretty dangerous individual altogether, but I do think that he's a Fed. But whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into George Hunter White. No, the PowerPoint's not perfect, but whatever. Some people don't even know who he is. So we'll go ahead and we'll start because, he's written up as like this hero, right? And he does have a very interesting resume, but Let's go ahead and see, because I found this doctor on accident, and when I looked into it, well, wouldn't you know, he was part of Midnight Climax for sure. All right, so right here, this is Colonel George Hunter White. He'd do the same thing again. Imagine that. Narcotics boss to retire, rebel swan song, no regrets. So obviously, they write very highly about him, but if you'll note the date, this is 1965, so this is before any sort of investigation into MK Ultra. So he was a narcotics agent for 30 years, a bureau supervisor for 20. And he says, I've enjoyed every minute of it. I have no regrets. Yeah, I bet. Let's go ahead and see. Were the Gestapo persecuting sick people, talking about being a narcotics agent? The JFK board. Let's go ahead and see what that says. I didn't read this part. Asked for an example, White promptly replied, I'll give you one. The late President Kennedy set up what's called federal executive boards in key cities. We've got one here. It takes in the local heads of enforcement and other agencies. Under this setup, all interrelated policies and procedures have to come from Washington, where they don't have such a board. The board operates as a mutual admiration society. If President Johnson knew how it operates, he would blow his stack. For instance, the day he was inaugurated, the local board met at Fort Mason and watched his inaugural speech on television. Okay, well, that's great. I don't really care. You know, Johnson was a scumbag. Whatever. I'm not even going to sit here and read this dude's life, because obviously this is all whitewashed. Okay, here we are. So this is him before before he retired. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of stuff in regards to him passing away, but he's criticizing the LAPD, blah 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 blah. And apparently, at one point, he was a LA newspaper man. Okay, whatever you say. And that is a younger George Hunter White. So there he is, and let's move on. Okay. So I thought that these were some interesting photos. Now, this gives a much more accurate history of this gentleman. So, White, narcotics chief to get Treasury medal. This talks about exploits in Turkey. He was doing a lot of very illegal things, quite frankly. I'm not going to sit here and give you his life story, because this is really not the focus, but I want people to see who he is, because I'm not expecting anyone to have the knowledge base, and I don't mean that education wise, just in your studies, wherever you're at. Let's go ahead and take a peek at him. So obviously, he passes away in October 1975, and right here. Don't you love the way that they paint these people? Imagine if that's a Jolly West. Colorful crime fighter. Colorful mind control operative. Imagine that. But obviously he was quite revered. Quite revered. He was the first federal narcotics agent ever sent abroad to investigate sources of drug traffic into this country. Posing as an American gangster and narcotics buyer, he smashed large dope rings in the Middle East, Marseille, India, Mexico, and South America. So what we are seeing here, he is the person that identified every single line where we could bring drugs into the country. Okay? So that's the boy. That's our guy. Now, let me see if the next one is. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the weird MK Ultra stuff, but I see the chat moving, so let me at least acknowledge you guys. I'm not ignoring you. If Lucian's a Fed, then a Fed wrote a smear piece on Ted Gunderson, death of a public paranoid after he died. Well, I mean, all he does is run around and complain about Ted Gunderson. He does his McMartin presentation, and he says, well, Michelle Remembers came out, and then we have Ted Gunderson talking about tunnels underneath the school. Okay, whatever. I still think the dude's a Fed, straight up. Lots of old cops and detectives like to have a dashing image. Well, yes, they do. His image was quite pristine until they started investigating Operation Midnight Climax. Obviously, nobody was really punished, and I think that this is, in my personal opinion, this is one of the most whitewashed projects. I mean, projects that the public knows. Like, if you look up MK Ultra, if you listen to podcasts about MK Ultra, this is talked about, and I feel like it is incredibly whitewashed. because again, this is a prostitution ring. Anybody who's under the disillusion that, these individuals, adults, who knows if everybody was of age, that they were not doing some pretty bad stuff. Come on. And he's working with Jolly West, you know what I mean? There's just no way that some of those drugs were not being aided and abetted by George Hunter White, in my opinion. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Now, this next slide, let me see. So this is where they are going to start talking about what they were doing. And some people don't know that MK Ultra started a lot earlier than what we were told. And I'm not here to give like a full history of it, but the doctor that comes into the picture, I think he's a very interesting character. Okay, so sleuths were mind bending in 1943. What else was going on in 1943? Anybody? Remember how I talked about Project Chatter? Seems pretty accurate, even if Wikipedia wants to call it a conspiracy theory, because this is what they were doing. So again, people who think that we weren't working with them, we weren't funding them, we weren't greasing palms with these individuals. Let's get real, okay? So it says the references to search for a so-called T drug that might break down the psychological defenses of Axis agents subjected to questioning by Allied counterintelligence officers are contained in diaries and correspondence of George Hunter White, who rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel in the OSS and after the war had a flamboyant career as a senior federal narcotics official. Imagine that. Yeah. Okay. And obviously, they're talking about marijuana. But here's where the stuff gets pretty gross. Obviously, prostitution and mind control project alleged. And, well, yes, George Hunter White. And God knows who else. Because I would like people to consider a theory. And I think it's not a bad theory. I'm not expecting anybody to agree with me per se. We'll come back to that other one in a minute. As far as Operation Midnight Climax and the stuff going on in the height, right? Height or hate, whatever. Somebody left a comment like, she says height, whatever. I'm a freaking hillbilly, okay? I'm not going to pronounce everything correctly. So in the hate Ashbury or height Ashbury, I don't know which one it is. Now I forgot. I think that the stuff with Manson and the girls in the process is almost like an open market kind of Operation Midnight Climax, maybe like a flirty fishing, definitely a honeypot agent provocateur type situation. Because keep in mind, who was it? Dennis Wilson, he was bragging about how he had 17 girls in his house, right? Well, imagine that. So it's almost like they're kind of test running this sort of like dirty hippie honeypot operation, whereas, Marianne de Grimston is involved in a much more high class BDSM, whatever, that type of operation. I absolutely think that that's what they were doing, in my personal opinion. But again, this is just food for thought. Aquino came back and finally died from prostate cancer. What are you guys talking about? He didn't die from prostate cancer. He took his life. Aquino died in 2019. I think I showed his death certificate in my first Aquino stream. But yeah, Aquino's dead. Aquino didn't die from cancer. He was getting treated for cancer. It could be in the news, but he did not come back. That didn't happen. I don't believe that whatsoever. Aquino's dead. There is a current lawsuit right now over his estate with one of his surviving children. As far as him taking his life, did someone take him out? I don't know. The man had a lot of secrets, quite frankly. Was somebody worried about like a deathbed confession? Maybe. I don't think that that's unfair to consider. Some people think that, like, William Colby was taken out because maybe he felt some guilt about the cowboy scandal. And so that's why he was helping out John DeCamp with the Franklin scandal. Who knows? Who really knows? Now, back to this slide so I can get over to this part. So, an African love potion was used by the CIA. This is all so stupid. But, I mean, they ruin people's lives to do these stupid experiments that had nothing to do with science. So, the informants were seduced by prostitutes. Where they used a rare African love potion from a Pennsylvania firm. Isn't that lovely? From the Pedlo. Whoops. Uh oh. This is, you know what? This stupid stream. Look at this. Look at this. I can't have nice things. They don't want me talking about this for some reason. I'm not even talking about anything that crazy. Come on now. All right, so right here. Pedlo Nice Chemical Company of Lock Haven, the drug used for centuries by African natives to increase their sexual powers, was purchased for $205 by Robert Lashbrook. Imagine that. Lashbrook was a former classmate of chemist Aubrey Nice, who at the time worked for the firm that supplied the drug. Lashbrook's job was to monitor and approve materials for Midnight Climax, a project involving CIA hired prostitutes in an apartment on New York's Bedford Place. And obviously, the two-way mirrors, where George Hunter White, who apparently also ran under the name Morgan Hall, for the people that are familiar with Midnight Climax, he sat on a toilet because he had them build a toilet and set it up on one side of the mirrors so that he never had to get up and didn't have to, look away, which is really disgusting. It kind of reminds me of LBJ, because LBJ was nasty. If you've read anything about Lyndon Baines Johnson, he is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I'm not going to sit here and read the rest of this crap. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of it because obviously StreamYard does not like me today. However, right here, this is George Hunter White's diary. And this is how I found this very special doctor who has become my new favorite adventure. So, CIA brothel notes recount bizarre project start. Okay, so let's see if we can get in here. Beautiful. Okay, so obviously they're talking about Sidney Gottlieb. So, Midnight Climax and 148 behavior modification experiments with chemical, biological, and radiological materials, which were recently declassified. And again, they identify him here as under his cover name as Morgan Hall. And where do we have my boy? Okay, right here. Yep, there we go. All right, so in a 1970 letter to a friend, Dr. Harvey Powelson, chief of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of California in Berkeley, White wrote, Not too many years past, it happened that I became a sort of liaison officer between federal law enforcement and another rather obscure department of the government that would like to remain obscure, which was then interested in obtaining information and data on the use of various hallucinogens, including marijuana, tetrahydrocannabinol, and then brand new LSD. I was sufficiently interested so that I not only liaised but also served as a guinea pig from time to time. My personal observation was that the effect of all of these drugs was essentially the same, except for the degree or extent of the effect period. I think that that is the most ridiculous statement that I've ever read comparing acid to LSD. Okay, but his quote unquote friend, Dr. Harvey Powelson, yeah, that's not how that works. Okay, that's not how that works. And especially this person being put into the newspaper doesn't happen that way. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get to it tonight since Restream is being a little hoe, but I am going to show you guys because I am noticing a very weird consistent theme with the Unitarian Church. Because for those of you that don't know, Frank Church of the Church Committee, his son, Frank Forrester Church, I believe is his full name. So he's on the FBI dead name list, which, I mean, you're on that list if you are cross-referenced or you're some type of informant. So there's another FBI record out there, or some sort of concealed record out there that has Frank Church's son in it, and I can't find it. However, Frank Church's son was a minister in the Unitarian Church. When you look at Esalen, there is a lot of Esalen doing speeches at the Unitarian Church. And I think that that is really weird, especially considering I've told you guys my opinion about the church committee and the other things that we've laid out with like the Children of God, Scientology, these really weird front groups. Like, why is Esalen hanging out at the Unitarian Church? I'm going to pull up the Esalen thing when I'm done getting through this. Screw restream, and I'll try to edit the stream afterwards and cut out the dead air time, because the stuff with Esalen, like Esalen needs to be brought back into the conversation. We had talked about it a little bit, but I found a fascinating newspaper article where they're listing other facilities that Esalen recommends all over the country. Because that's where this type of crap, this type of processed crap is being, seeded into these local communities, and it's being sold as like self-help and enlightenment. And like, obviously people think of Esalen now as, you know, enlightenment with like Silicon Valley and big tech, right? Think of like Neuralink and brain chips. Quite frankly, I still think it's real crazy that they put it into a human, and I really hope that they're okay, because let's not forget that Elon killed all of the monkeys, right? Really crazy that he killed all of the monkeys and then they just put it into a human, but whatever. All right, so this is Dr. Harvey Powelson. So right here, he is also at the Unitarian Church. Why? I don't know. I have no idea, but somebody remind me to pull up the Esalen thing, because I am going to pull it up. But obviously, I want to grab anywhere where he's talking, right? Because, he's talking about maturity and tension and, how do people react to what's on television? Oh, but, well, look at that, talking about morals at the University of California. Okay. See, when this kind of stuff is going on, I'm immediately thinking, just so you guys know my train of thought, I'm thinking about Kinsey. I'm thinking about Kinsey. Straight up. Because let's not forget. Oh, look, they mentioned Kinsey right here. Look at that, the demon himself. Okay, well, perfect. Then I don't need to sit here and explain myself. Maturity and its problems. Attaining maturity in our times. Like, shut up, dude. Who are you to say a damn thing? Anyways, and obviously he's also involved in the penal system at this time. That's a major problem for me, because that's absolutely making me think of MK Ultra. I'm thinking Vacaville. I'm thinking Sync. I'm thinking Patty Hearst. Like, these are all the things that are going through my mind. Now, with Kinsey, so that people remember, or if you don't know, and I don't know that I went into it in my Kenneth Anger episode, but, Kinsey and Kenneth Anger were very good friends. And Kenneth Anger did some things to himself for Kinsey on camera as part of Kinsey's research. Okay. And Kenneth Anger and Dr. Kinsey went to Aleister Crowley's Abbey of Thelema, and, Kinsey and him were talking about how if you peeled the paint back, there were all these murals of like orgies involving children. So like the people that think that Aleister Crowley or the like any of that stuff is cool, I think that it's interesting to study from a historical perspective. Obviously, you guys know I'm not really here for the woo-woo part, but if you actually read Aleister Crowley's writings, that is a consistent theme. And so it really shouldn't surprise anyone, and no one should be offended, because I don't mean offense. Yes, I call some of these Satan simps power bottoms for Satan, and I don't feel bad about it. I don't think that I'm alienating anybody. I'm allowed to have an opinion. But at the end of the day, no one should be surprised when I'm sitting here talking about Michael Aquino or some of these other individuals, including the process, and how they're absolutely disgusting. Because if we're going to the root of it, right? if we're going to the root of this, technically, why is anyone surprised and why is anybody getting their feelings hurt? Seriously, people's feelings should not be hurt. Don't take other people's word for it. Go read Aleister Crowley for yourself. That is advocated, right? It is. It is what it is. Just because people don't get taken to jail and are punished in a court of law, like Ipsissimus Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, oh well. It's unfortunate, but let's all be realistic here. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? Kinsey didn't go to jail either, right? Imagine that. There's a building. There's literally a building named after him. Let's all get it together, okay? Now, I'm not going to really read through this, but this is something that we're going to come back to when we talk about Charlene Caffritz, because the National Students Association, from what I understand, Alan Dulles was heavily involved in this, but then things got a little bit hairy, and so they had to kind of switch things over. But this was like obviously a front group, and they do mention Dr. Timothy Leary and Dr. Sidney Cohen. I just want to show you guys this little event that they're holding on the East Coast, where my guy, my new doctor, Dr. Powelson, is in attendance. That way we know where everybody is. Okay, so right here. Yeah, so see, it says former National Students Association who broke the story to Ramparts that the CIA was secretly channeling funds to the NSA. Look at that. Secrecy in a free society. The CIA. Whoops. Whoopsie. Whoopsie. It is what it is. But crisis in the university will be the topic of a symposium. And I mean, I don't know all of these doctors' names, but obviously Dr. Harvey Powelson, I was like, hey, look at you. Of course you're there when they're talking about the CIA. And then obviously Dr. Leary, Sidney Cohen. Oh, look at that. There's Donald Rumsfeld. I didn't notice that Donald Rumsfeld was there. Is anybody surprised at this point? Is anybody really surprised? I mean, I give up. I give up. It's all these stupid Satanists and neocons. It's freaking ridiculous. What's going on? Hold on. Seriously, Google says Aquino just died. What's the LARP about? Or is it actually saying that he just died? Give me a second, guys. You know what? We're gonna emotionally and psychologically free ball it for a little while. How about that? Okay, we're all gonna have a little fun. Hopefully you don't have a tight schedule tonight, because clearly Restream doesn't care. Let's go ahead and take a peek. Let's look. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino. Let's see. Where do we have the news? I'm not seeing anything. Let's see. I know the church had put out the official notice. So let's. Yeah, it says right here, Aquino died in July 2020 at the age of 73. So I thought he died at the end of 2019. My bad. But I mean, that's what it's showing up for me. Maybe somewhere is pumping it back out. I don't know why. That's a little weird. Is this one of these? Where is this? December 16th, 2023. Who is this from? What the hell? What in the fresh hell is this? Why are they doing that? I would like to know. Are they playing Mind War? That's weird. These are showing from December though. Oh, wait. I just see one from 4 days ago. What the hell is going on? Who is writing this tomfoolery? Okay. Well, that's asking me to pay for it. I believe you guys now. Okay, well, you guys win. That's weird. That's super weird. Okay, well, you guys are on the right side of history, so to speak, because Ipsissimus Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, he's been dead. I don't know why they're pumping that back out. Makes you wonder if they're announcing or getting ready to announce someone new. That's me being extremely paranoid, but I have to kind of look at things that way. It's just the way that my brain is built. I am schizoid completely. Now, the study that I found, whatever, it's just listed in the newspaper, but I'm going to show you guys because I saw it and I called Virginia and I said, Virginia, I'm going to read you the title of this article and you tell me if my spidey senses are right. And she agreed. So this is the article that made me really dig into this guy. So here we go. Death Wish and LSD. What a guy. What a guy. Yeah. And 35 cents for a loaf of rye bread, you can trip for 2 weeks on LSD. But, explained Dr. Harvey Powelson today, only if you know how to put together the products of the fermentation of the rye seed. Okay. Powelson's comments were made as Berkeley police continued their investigation into the violent death of co-ed Susan Abshir, 19, who leaped through the closed window of her third-floor apartment Saturday night. Whoops, it's going to keep doing this. Hers is only the latest in a series of deaths and injuries resulting, according to authorities, from the use of LSD, which the legislature last year classified as a dangerous drug. Powelson, chief of the psychiatric division of the University of California's Cowell Memorial Hospital, called LSD either magical or panicky, the love drug. I mean, this is, this dude's take is real wild. There definitely is never any belligerence, such as there is with alcohol. Okay. Many of our students are pretty good chemists and can make their own LSD with rye bread. Lovely. And let's see. Dr. James Malcolm, chief of the Alameda County Health Department, cannot see any unusual rise in deaths and suicides. The principal harm LSD bears for its users is that people resorting to its use have problems and think this provides the means of solving or avoiding their difficulties. Okay. Okay. I would highly disagree. I would highly disagree. And again, I'm not going to sit here and read all of this stuff. This is just showing you guys that they're talking about narcotics, they're talking about acid. I would highly disagree. Because, why is Jolly West publishing these papers? In particular, right after the Cielo Drive crimes, talking about, the communal marriage setting and the effects of LSD and marijuana within a commune, and LSD and violence. LSD and violence and LSD and violence in a commune setting right after what happened at Cielo Drive. Why are Jolly West underlings involved in the case, the prosecution, or I'm sure that they were probably testifying as, witnesses for the defense? However, why are Jolly's underlings involved in Tex Watson's case and also in the girl's case and Manson's case in California? But then he's turning around and he's putting out publications like this, and we have individuals consistently within academia that are coming out and lying to the public. And they are lying. And I'm not someone that thinks that the government should punish people and send them to prison for using drugs. I want people to be safe, but I also think that people should be allowed to make their own decisions. And I do think that the drug laws are completely ridiculous. I think nonviolent crimes, you shouldn't go to prison for something like that. And it's a very serious conversation. People get emotional about it, whatever. I'm not taking the super, conservative angle. However, you need to be honest with people. Because as many of us know who have studied what Jolly West was doing and the on the ground reports of the acid that was coming in, a lot of that stuff was mixed with methamphetamine, right? And that guy just said right there in a newspaper where he's talking in front of Berkeley cops that his students are also making their own LSD. So am I supposed to just trust these students that they're not putting something else into it? I mean, seriously, it's completely ridiculous. If these people were honest about these things, I think it would be a very different situation. But the reality is that they weren't, and so therefore they lose my respect. Now, this is where we are going to see a perfect example of what I like to call warring both sides against the middle. Because you just saw him talking about how LSD is okay, right? Yeah? Okay. Now, let's go ahead and see what he has to say about marijuana. Imagine that. Because let's not forget, there's a lot of money to throw people away for marijuana. Look at this. Powelson, pot is debilitating. University of California, Berkeley chief psychiatrist who 3 years ago thought marijuana should be legalized and taxed, yesterday expressed strong reservations about its use by anyone. Of the roughly 3,000 UC students who annually come through the Cowell Hospital psychiatric wing, Dr. Harvey Powelson said there are a lot of guys with holes in their heads, literally. They can't take care of themselves, and they are all on welfare. Powelson, head of the UC Psychiatric Clinic, said he changed his mind about the use of pot over the past few years because he has seen students rendered hopelessly incapable of doing anything for themselves following prolonged drug use. He said students here were the first to turn on to drugs of all kinds on a massive scale, which he now puts at 50% of the UC student body, and thus were the first to experience the long-term ill effects, including symptoms of brain damage. Berkeley students are also more aware of the dangers of using drugs, especially methadone and heroin, because of their close proximity to the Telegraph Avenue area, where the consequences of their use is so clear. Isn't that just incredible? Incredible. So this man is sitting here saying 1 second that LSD needs to be legalized, that there's no damage. But pot? No, no. Not the weed. God forbid. Please, no. Y'all need to keep in mind, in the grand scheme of things, like DARE, cracking down on drugs, satanic panic, right? Satanic panic, because that is all kind of part of it. It's just all kind of part of it, in my opinion. Some people think that I have completely lost my damn mind. I wouldn't totally disagree, but this is just me trying to like step back and look at these things from the bigger perspective. Like, people need to take seriously, because I am like kind of starting over and we're going back. And so I know that the book opens with the death of Arliss Perry. And no, I'm not going to like sit here and lose my mind over Arliss Perry, but I'm back in California. I already told you guys I'm back here. And now I want to look at Esalen, but it's not just Esalen. These things are facilitated and propagated and funded by academia. And these doctors, these scientists, they don't get punished. And this stuff really frustrates me. And I'm going to pull it up in the newspaper archives. I'm going to have to, because I don't have it, because I want to show you guys this dude is doing like astral projection research really early on. And he's very honest when he's reporting, people that have done astral projection and how they are literally terrified. Some of them can't even look in a mirror. They say that they're scared to look in a mirror because they don't know if they can control it or not. So none of this stuff is based in science. Everyone's a guinea pig, but they're also, like someone said that this is Tavistock. This is literally social engineering. This is literally what they're doing, is social engineering. I will show you guys this one like creepy article just because it is, the picture's really creepy, but it should be legalized. The acid should be legalized, guys. This is what we need to do. Not weed, God forbid, no marijuans, right? So the psychedelic scene on campus. Not going to sit here and read all of this stuff, but like look at that picture. Like, yeah, that should be legalized, right? Using hallucinatory drugs is like seeing oneself from afar. The FDA warns of insidious and dangerous activity. Yeah, I bet they did. But, Dr. Harvey Powelson disagrees. He's a psychiatrist with the Student Health Services at Berkeley. He has no count of known users, but on examining his caseload, he found that about 4 out of 6 students had experience with LSD or marijuana. Yeah, I bet they did. It's just these people piss me off. The Esalen stuff is really starting to, excuse my language, piss me off as well. And whatever, this may not be enlightening for anybody. I never claimed to come on here and change the world, but we got to start bringing Esalen into the picture, guys, because Esalen is missing in a really big way. I want to find this stuff about the astral projection really quick because I want you guys to see this. Because when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. So let me pull up the newspaper archives real fast. This stream was completely freaking ridiculous. I'm just gonna have to do another stream tomorrow. Sorry, and it won't mess up, and you guys can watch it on the playback. It's not gonna be on the same topic, but hopefully my internet will be a little bit more cooperative. And here we go. All right, baby. And they obviously talk about the occult, right? Because we really can't get away from that part. So, again, these people know what they're doing. This is probably going to get a little bit laggy, and I apologize. However, let's go ahead and take a peek right now. So, this is the Berkeley Gazette, October 11th, 1966. Modern mysticism, projection phenomenon eyed. Woo! Imagine that, right? So let's get down here. Where is he? Oh, there he is, that little dirty Daniel. Okay, so right here. So, interest. The interest in LSD is almost matched by an interest in the ethic of Zen Buddhism, if not its severe discipline. The mental gymnastics of the accomplished yogi, their nirvana states described by mystics of both the East and the West. In brief, the Telegraph Avenue Revolution, despite its often gaudy and unappetizing trappings, to some extent heralds a revival of interest in the mystic, the transcendental, and the occult. And it is an interest that is shared in other parts of the country by members of the community that have far more prestige than the vision proclaiming telly acid heads. Prestige, right? Because their degrees and their titles, you know that they don't mean a damn thing to me. So here we Dr. Harvey Powelson, chief psychiatrist at the University of California's Cowell Hospital, has undoubtedly seen and talked to more members of the conscious revolution than anyone farther away from the scene than Pepe's Pizza Parlor. I don't know what Pepe's is, but it sounds kind of good. So he is not versed in the lore and terminology of the occult, but he recognizes a trend moving away from the traditional Western thought forms towards experiences that outstrip any descriptive vocabulary so far developed. I bet. Guess what is he going to make the words for us because he thinks that he's qualified to, right? Standing alone. He describes Berkeley as standing alone and as the center of the drug, Zen, and meditation scene. He describes the meditation scene as a direction some of the smartest, most sensitive people we have are going in. He predicts that within a year, yogi will be taught somewhere in Berkeley and finds a number of its advocates already present. And he finds in the heli scene a complete rejection of the Western Judeo-Christian capitalist and communist system of values. Oh, doesn't that sound so good? We're rejecting everything. We're rejecting all of it. Meanwhile, interest continues to grow in the fields of occultism that have long been subject to general discredit and the community at large. Dr. Powelson notes that Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis and modern psychology, had great interest in psychic phenomena all his life and had established cases of communication between dreamers and dreams via shared symbols. When asked about the psychic phenomenon of astral projection, he admitted he had been told of such experiences by patients under care, but had not been aware of it under that term. Oh, Really? Okay. Astral projection describes a state in which the consciousness of the individual leaves the body. Let's get up here. Sorry if I get laggy. Here we go. For an short or extended period and travel experiences on its own without the physical body. That sounds safe, right? You trust these people, right? They were working with Nazis. This is going to be fine. The famed Harvard psychologist William James, brother of novelist Henry James, devoted a volume to cases of astral projection, recording a number of such experiences as told to him by fellow Harvard faculty members. Now, this Dr. Bernard said it's like lying on a sofa, getting up, and seeing your body still lying on the couch. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this sounds like a K-hole to me, so I don't really know about all of that. But anyways, I digress. I probably shouldn't have said that. These experiences are not hallucinations, he said. I am an idiot. Okay, moving along. Anyways, I want to before they're talking about they're getting scared. It's been a bad day, guys. I'm sorry. All right, so where are we? All right, here we go. Here we go. Afraid of worried. Those who experience out of body projection once or twice, he said, are afraid and worried. One individual thought death had called, and this person was watching what he thought to be his own dead body. It was not. Many others, he continued, are worried they are losing their minds and refuse to tell anyone in fear they will be committed. He emphasized he has gathered indicates that astral projection causes no harm to the individual, even though he literally just said that these people are terrified. Now, where's the thing about the mirror? It's the one that got me. It's up here somewhere. Yep, here we go. All right. Incidents of astral projection are to be found in the Berkeley community as well as in North Carolina. Maybe at Fort Bragg? One member of the university community revealed in a passing conversation that he had experienced the phenomenon of astral projection while a child. He realized that it happened to him while standing before a mirror and had frightened him quite badly. It did not prevent him from attempting the trick again, and he reports he was able to do it successfully a second time. However, an unsynchronized return left him physically upset for some hours afterwards. This individual, now in his early 30s, reports that he can still leave his body with the aid of a mirror, but because of concentration involved and the unknown possibilities of the experience, hesitates to embark on astral trips. The questions astral projection poses for psychology and science in general are immense. Controlled experiments would be difficult to set up, and their results would be hard to verify. Yeah, because you're literally not in the person's mind, you dummy. However, if a person who claims to have the power to perform astral projections at will were wired up to an electroencephalograph, here's where Jolly West would enter the chat, you know what I mean? The readings obtained should give some clue as to what, if anything, were actually taking place. If astral projection could be verified, it would demand a whole new explanation of consciousness and man. For if one has the possession of all one's senses while out of the body, the relationship of the physical organs, including the brain, to consciousness would need a whole new interpretation. And do you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like changing images of man. Seriously. This is not science. I've told you guys from the get. These people are looking for something, and part of it, whether you think you have a soul or not, they're obviously looking to squander that. Not here to have that debate with people, but obviously, like they're looking for a bloodline, and they're also trying to figure out how us peasants, the peasant class, us poor people, who have these abilities. Some people do, some people don't. Some people think that that's all completely woo woo. I think our brains are incredibly complex, and I think it's a beautiful thing. But these psychopaths want to learn how to create it and control it and then take it away from you. That's all they're trying to do, quite frankly. But I mean, that's just my personal opinion because no, they're not operating with goodwill and none of this has to do with science. I'm gonna pull up the Esalen thing because I had this whole other thing set up, and when Restream screws up, it just really rattles the mind. So give me a second. And while I'm pulling that up, I am going to tell you guys another founder of Best Friends Animal Society passed away earlier this month. I will probably just come on and kind of talk about, I mean, whatever, what I've found about her so far, because obviously, as one might expect, the obituary, which again is only on the Best Friends website. Surprise. Seems that Julie Castle writes a lot of these obituaries, which I think is really weird. I don't know what's up with that. But this chick gives me major Robert de Grimston, Black nobility vibes. Her family name is coming up in the peerage as well. So this is all getting real weird. But again, this is my frustration with the Process Church of the Final Judgment, okay? Is because these people are dying off. And this is another founder. And for my people that have been waiting for like the Beatles angle or for us to come back to the Beatles, she's the Beatle angle in a really big way. I mean, it's just, I'm trying to figure it out though. You guys know that I need to do it factually. It's going to drive me freaking nuts if I don't. Now, obviously, like my Esalen stuff isn't super ready, but I do want to just show you guys a couple of examples because on this slide, if you're on my Twitter, you've already seen it. So this gentleman's name, where is he? Seymour Carter. So there's a book about Esalen, and it is called Esalen, America and the Religion of No Religion. It's supposed to be like a history of Esalen, right? They interview this guy, Mr. Carter, and he details how he was the individual that turned Manson and the girls away 2 weeks before the murder, right? Which is interesting. I think that his story's pretty interesting, but I mean, they do acknowledge, that Abigail Folger and Sharon Tate were at a salon right before the crimes themselves. But I want to show you guys that there's a lot of weird lectures going on at Esalen, and I would love people's vote because some of you guys are, a bit more into Timothy Wiley and the weird dolphin stuff. You know what I mean? I have John C. Lilly talking at the Unitarian Church on behalf of Esalen. So I think that maybe, uh, this might be where the process, because I don't think it was just Robert de Grimston. Because keep in mind, there's no proof that Robert de Grimston was at Esalen. I have not seen anything proving it. There are a lot of rumors. But I try to operate, and even if it's just like on the ground reports, like from that time, police reports, INS, whatever the case may be. I think it's fascinating that in Esalen, America, and the Religion of No Religion, they claim that the rumors, even though Mr. Carter confirms it, the rumors of Manson being involved in Esalen, they say that it's a black PR campaign from the White House against Esalen. That's the first time that I've ever heard that. I think that that's a really silly claim, quite frankly. And that also was like, boo, red flag, red flag. Yeah, okay, we're coming back to Esalen. We're coming back to this whole like Fourth Reich crap. Because this is what we have to do. Again, we're starting over. It is what it is. Sorry, don't know what people expect. So here we go. So this is what I put onto my Twitter. So this is the Father and Son, a personal biography of Senator Frank Church of Idaho. I haven't read it. I don't really care about it right now, quite frankly. My brain is overloaded, but here we go. Plenty of examples. Oh, look, it's 1972. It's John Lilly talking about the human biocomputer. And I mean, what? This is the first Unitarian Church. Up here, again, this is 1969, November 23rd. Introduction to Encounter, First Unitarian Church. December 1972, Esalen Open House. with Seymour Carter. Imagine that. At the First Unitarian Church. Okay. And then right here, this is the little clip from the Esalen America and the Religion of No Religion. I'm not going to read this whole thing. However, it says Seymour Carter remembers being awakened by a young woman in the middle of the night in the waterfall house where he was living with his girlfriend. The waking woman wanted to get her friends into Esalen. Sleepily, Carter agreed to meet the group, which had turned out to be 3 women, a baby, and a scruffy hippie man in a bread truck van parked up on Highway 1. After offering Seymour some grass to smoke, the man began playing his guitar and singing both badly. Carter sensed that something was wrong, that they were, in his own words, bad news. He thus refused them entry and sent them on their way. Within 2 weeks, the murders happened, and within another 2, Esalen was receiving phone calls about the rumored links. Carter realized then just who he had sent away that night. It was true, though, that Abigail Folger, the coffee heiress who was among the murdered, had attended an Esalen seminar. It was also true that Sharon Tate happened to be at Esalen the night before the gruesome events. Both were there to work with pearls, but there certainly was no causal link between Esalen and the Manson crimes. The connection was not fact, but rather the work of a misinformation campaign, apparently under the direction of White House aides. With events such as this, Esalen knew it had to be careful. It had enemies in very high places. Okay, whatever you say, whatever. This is so ridiculous, but I mean, okay, like here's more. Here's more. Unitarian Church, Esalen, 1974. And oh, sorry, let me show you this down here. So this is the dead list of the FBI. It's pretty interesting. It's like 700 pages long. But this is Frank Church's son. And again, it doesn't detail him as an informant, but this is telling people that he is named elsewhere in another FBI or CIA document. Why that is, we don't know. And obviously, in regards to the Son of Sam angle, well, I was obviously looking, for the cars, but I didn't find anything. Not yet, anyway. Doesn't mean I'm not going to. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to try either. Now, let me see who else I can pull up here, because there was a couple weird articles. I mean, everything that Esalen was doing was extremely suspicious. Extremely suspicious. Let me fix this really quick and then I'm going to show you guys this because this is it. Okay, do you guys remember when I found in New York, I was talking about Pound Ridge, I think, or the Phoenix House, right? And because remember, Wheat Carr and Francis Carr vehemently deny that Michael Carr had anything to do with Phoenix House. And I said, well, I don't trust you guys. So we're literally going to be looking at Phoenix House. And when I was looking at Phoenix House, I found, Mother Hava Gabrielle Lawrence, right? Who is still listed as living at Pound Ridge in 1980. Remember, I found her doing the transactional analysis, that weird sort of group therapy, right? And I was like, well, that's kind of sus because it reminds me of compulsions analysis, right? The original process. Well, wouldn't you know it? Esalen was doing it first. Imagine that. I wonder where the process got the idea for that. I'm not saying that this is a proven fact. However, people need to understand where these things come from. It's not just some hippie who has, revelation, whatever. Anyways, so, here's some lovely photos where people don't really look like they're having a great time. Quite frankly, they don't look like they're having a great time. But here they are at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California. This was the quote that kind of did it for me. One never knows who is strong, who is weak, or who can take it and who cannot. But we're going to do it anyway. They're going to do it anyway. Because they don't care. Because they literally don't care. I just, whatever. It is what it is. The whole thing with this thing starting late and it's been a bad day anyway. This threw me off completely. I really am going to be coming back to Esalen. I want to go through, because obviously they're listed like in a lot of ads, right? And some of them, it's just people that are representatives of Esalen. But I am going to compile a complete catalog of every single listing of Esalen from the newspapers because, you know, the fact that Arliss Perry's husband gets into some very sus activity later on in his life, like now or recently, and the whole, I would say, I guess at this point, if I'm being honest with myself, and I think that Greaves is a Fed, well, then that whole argument about the security guard doing it, is that a limited hangout? You know? Could be. I don't know. But I want to come back to all of this because I've heard a couple other people bring it up too. The Esalen angle is getting ignored too much. And I agree. It's been ignored a lot. I don't think, but I don't know who else is out there doing research about it. And so I'm not being disrespectful to anybody. I'm being critical of myself. You know, we've talked about Esalen a little bit here and there. And, you know, some people don't prefer the newspaper research, but I prefer the newspaper research because a lot of these people forget what they say in the papers. People forget that the process was talking about necromancy, right? In like 1980. We haven't brought anybody back from the dead yet, but we think that we're going to be able to soon. Okay. Right around the same time that those two witches out of New York that were brought over state lines that were found drained of all of their blood with matching puncture wounds on one side of their body, and it's a very clear occult crime, and they have hair left in their palm, which is also a sign of an occult crime. Okay, whatever you say. Like I said, I think we've got a good foundation. I think that we've got a good foundation here. It's just time to come back and tighten up. For me, I'm being critical of myself. Obviously, I've identified a couple of other processians that I want to show you guys. I really want my John Lennon people, my Beatles people. I won't spring up the most recent founder at Best Friends that just died. I'll schedule that one ahead of time because I really want you guys' input on that. Because some of you guys have been asking those type of questions for a really long time, and I'm sorry that I haven't been able to, provide a better explanation for it. It just wasn't really an angle that I was focused on. But now that I've started looking into Diana Asher, she's the most recent person to die. She died a couple weeks ago. Her family is heavily, heavily involved with the Beatles. And I'm just like, oh, wow. It looks like Julie Castle is telling us. Looks like Julie Castle's telling us that the Beatles were in fact processians. That's the way that like she writes this. It's completely ridiculous because Julie Castle also writes this obituary less than a month ago. Current CEO of Best Friends, one of my dear subscribers, Echo Cat, has been blocked by her on Twitter. I'm very proud of him. I hope to achieve that. I hope to achieve that block someday. However, she's writing in this obituary a couple of weeks ago. That Diana Asher's psychic abilities were also very strong. So people need to understand that these individuals are doing the exact same thing. They're doing the exact same thing. It's not an animal rescue. And I'm not saying allegedly or supposedly any of that stuff because you guys already know I'm not scared of these people. I do not care. I'm just here for the truth. But in getting to this point, this is coming back and shaving down history altogether. But I knew that we were going to have to come back to Esalen at some point. I didn't think it was going to be now. And, obviously we've got a long way to go. Because with Esalen itself, and I mean, I guess it is what it is, they're talking about aliens, 1970. I've got the process talking about alien abductions and alien encounters in 1973. Robert Grimston in New York, when he's meeting up with Reverend Arthur Gibson, his boy from the Vatican, they're also talking about aliens at that time. Okay, this is all just the same operation. It's everybody sticking their hands in the pot in different ways. It is what it is. I'm sorry, I don't have a better way to word it. You know what I mean? Now, I want to look at the chat because I've ignored you guys. The next stream, because I hate restream today, and maybe I'll cancel it. I feel like I'm good at using it, but it's being a little hoe, and that's really annoying, especially because it's like, I want to come back and be really strategic with the information that we're covering, because I've like done the familial history of the guys that owned the Straight Theater. Yes, the Straight Theater that Kenneth Anger did, the autumnal equinox with the invocation of my demon brother. I think that was the one. It wasn't Lucifer Rising. It was the invocation of my demon brother. I've traced that family's history. They are some naughty little boys, quite frankly, involved in a lot of really sus stuff. I've got to show you guys Victor F. Wild Jr. Not going to show you tonight. Because, Victor F. Wild Jr., aka Brother Eli, he's still alive. We haven't talked about him in a long time. I showed you guys all of his really fancy, cool cars, right? And I was like, dang, these cars are pimp. He was the one that had the leather shop. He made leather for Jim Morrison and Charles Manson. Well, I have finally found him, and guess what? He's going to New York in 1973. Surprise! Surprise! Is anyone surprised? No, I'm not surprised. Nobody should be surprised, quite frankly. But like I said, we're going to come back, and when we're talking about some of these older characters, we're not going to sit here and do the court record thing where we're reading every single little detail. It'll be a brief reminder, but I've got new photos of him. And then obviously I can add those old links into the description of the video itself afterwards. I have completely ignored my chat. I'm so sorry. I feel like such a bad person right now. All right, let me see. Chicken licking meth pickers mixed with the Terminator. Peace and love. Peace and love. Asher family is huge in aristocratic circles, probably linked to the Cliveden set of Nazi sympathizers. Forensics, hit me up, man, because that is the way that Julie Castle writes about it. She's like, the mother comes from the aristocrats that are in line, however many 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon from the Duke of Cornwall. And I'm like, shut up, Julie. You don't even know what you're talking about. Like, but thank you for letting me know that they're going to be in the peerage at the very least, which they are, you know. But I mean, like, apparently her first cousin is Jane Asher and Peter Asher. I think that I might have figured out that maybe it's not her cousin, might be her sibling. I don't know. But I would like to kind of figure that out because I actually think that that's her siblings, which is really weird because the Ashers had more than just those two, but whatever. It's me again, Margaret. Hello, Margaret. And thank you guys for the hair compliments. I appreciate it. I'm going white. I'm becoming geriatric. Obviously, my health isn't great. And I'm like, well, you know what? I might as well just start dyeing it blonde, dyeing it white, just a little bit at a time. Since I'm going white completely, and I already told you guys I'm going to look like powder. You know what I mean? Anger is connected to Damien Eccles. I need to find the family member he ran with. I'm going to have to talk about the West Memphis 3 at some point, aren't I? I mean, I know that there's a ton of research out there about the West Memphis 3. I'm just not there in the timeline. But I know I'm going to have to. It's unfortunate. But we'll do it. It's fine. We'll do it. We may just jump around from topic to topic. You know what I mean? I'm not on a set schedule. I just kind of feel like a dick because I worked like organizing all my George Hunter White, and I'm like, look at me. I've got this done 3 hours ahead of the stream. I've got my thumbnail ready. I know what schizo club I'm going to open up with. I'm an adult. And then it just, whatever. Anyways, let me see. Matriarchal bloodline. Damien Eccles is a bondage anema enthusiast. What is a bondage enema enthusiast? I need an explanation of what that is. Jandon. AA is some weird stuff to me. Felt off and like it was leading to cult like behavior. Yeah, Jandon, that's kind of hit or miss for me too. I just passed 3 years on January 1st and I can't I can't do AA. I know it helps people, but it's just not for me. It makes me feel weird as well. Jacob the Saint. I'm new to this channel. I have to do a deep dive. Yes, Jacob, today was a day, you might see a couple of them, where I will change the title and say skip forward, and it's because Restream is being a dirty little hoe and acting like a demon. And so it throws off everything that I have planned, and I don't recover very well sometimes. Bill W. was eating LSD with the Keezies. That's very interesting. Okay. Damian Eccles is sus to me. I think, of course, Damian Eccles is guilty. They did it. The West Memphis Three did it. They did it. The West Memphis Three is guilty. AF. They're guilty. It's just, and I will be completely honest with you guys. So, like, what is it? 2024. 5 years ago, I didn't think that they were guilty. But I didn't understand the lengths of true crime propaganda and how far they go. Because for people that don't know, don't be a Richard, my lady, don't be a dick. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying, for people that don't know, I've only been doing like independent research on my own for like a year. I think I just passed a year and 2 months. I think I just passed my 6-month anniversary of making my first schizo clip. I remember how fun that was. I'm very like new to this, so as far as the West Memphis Three goes, I thought that they were innocent. I really did. And I remember being excited when they got out, and I was like, this is great. And I didn't have the view of that, like it was satanic panic. There was just so many things that didn't make sense to me from the way that they wanted me to view it, and I was not at a place, mentally, emotionally, ontologically, I would really say, where I didn't understand that I needed to look for myself. But when you look into these things, they lie to you. If it's allowed on TV, if HBO is putting out a documentary, if you see a bunch of celebrities flocking to something, that should give you pause. And I'm not telling anybody what to think. I'm just telling you my experience with like the West Memphis Three. I thought that they were innocent for a really long time. And I think once I had my moment, in particular, my breaking moment with Jonestown, then I realized that it's time for me to unlearn a lot of things, unlearn a lot of propaganda, which obviously it is an ontological shock. There's a lot of trust that is broken, and I think rightfully so, with mainstream media, Netflix, all of those things, because I believe like every single true crime thing out there pretty much is true crime propaganda. Sons of Sam and Cropsey as a great example, as well as the Sympathy for the Devil documentary about the Process Church of the Final Judgment. But everybody comes to these things in their own time, and I don't expect anybody to have the same knowledge base as me. It's just, we're all in this together. And for the people that are here that are new, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm straight up in it for the long haul. I you know I'm not in a rush. I'm not on a timeline. Obviously, I have a plan in my brain, and when things don't go that way, depending on the day, well, I get a little bit frazzled. And obviously, there's like a lot of you here, and that's a little overwhelming for me. I think it's very cool that you guys are here, and I appreciate it so much. But it's a bit intense. I'm just like, wow, people want to hang out with me, and that's cool. And I appreciate it. Seriously, it means a lot to me. And normally I am more engaging with the chat, and that's why I'm literally going to set up another stream. And, we'll go through some of the other stuff because I want to talk to you guys about Charlene Caffritz. I want to talk to you guys about the stuff with the Caffritz family and Alan Dulles. Because, as coming back to Esalen, coming back to California, that's how I got there. These are big angles that maybe other people have researched. I don't know because I don't look at other people's blogs and I don't look at other people's work about this stuff. In particular, I don't want to steal anybody's stuff. It feels wrong. And also because I am new at this, technically, I'm a little baby. If you guys have seen Schitt's Creek, I'm a little baby. I'm trying to hone my discernment skills and learn how to trust my instincts. And Virginia McClary has greatly helped me with that. But I know that that's something where I have to go and look for these things myself. Uh, and that's just the way I'm doing it. And you guys are along for the ride. Because, like I said, I'm not claiming to solve any crimes, and I'm also not here to adjudicate anyone in the court of public opinion or in a court of law, quite frankly. What I am here to do is try to correct the public record, the historical record. That's more realistic to me, is bringing forth a different perspective and a whole perspective. Because, this whole thing is MK Ultra. All this cult crap is MK Ultra. I would like to point out, since the last two streams, whatever stream it was that I dropped Virginia's blog, where she gives a really simple breakdown about L. Ron Hubbard, absolutely being an intelligence asset. I haven't really heard a peep out of the ex-Scientology community. Imagine that. Because they all think that I'm crazy and that I think and fantasize about living in a spy novel. Because for some reason, people think the spycraft is sexy. I would say that you probably need to go talk to a therapist, but that's just me. I don't think that this stuff is sexy whatsoever. But since I've put that out there, I haven't heard a peep. Ain't heard a peep. So imagine that. Maybe it's starting to settle in. Someone had pointed out to me that the church put out a hit piece on Mr. Aaron Smith Levin recently, and apparently the church used some of my research. So that was kind of weird. But they used to do it to Virginia all the time, and they still do. So, whatever. You're welcome. I don't really care. But I just thought that it was kind of interesting because, that dude, God, what is it? The lifeboat with Tommy Tommy in the lifeboat. Like, I'm the person that identified that the PayPal wasn't him. I was like, well, let me click on this PayPal. Who's Brett Miller? And I found that really old newspaper where he's sitting in court. They're talking about, all of these bank robberies and stuff. And I was like, well, this must be the feeling that Virginia has when they're stealing her research. That's kind of weird. But, I'm not aligned with Scientology. For the people that think that maybe I am, I'm not flattered that the church used my research. They don't ever show their sources. They just make claims, and sometimes they make good observations. I've showed you guys where I'm like, this is interesting to consider, but let me show you the source because I have to go and find it. They don't cite their sources, and they're certainly not going to give credit, nor do I want it. Because I'm sure that they're just gonna love when I start talking about Scientology and Iran-Contra. They're going to love it. They're gonna hate it. Especially David Miscavige and Mr. Mike Rinder. Yeah, and Marty Rathbun. Yeah, they're really gonna hate that because that's gonna be long. And don't think that I have forgot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Mark Fisher. Yeah, that too. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. Not talking to my people here, but you're welcome. And you can also thank Virginia, quite frankly, because that came from Virginia. I just brought in the legal records because you guys know I like to track the money, right? Because we got to know where that money's going, baby. So you're welcome. Obviously, the ex-Scientology community doesn't care that that absolutely disgusting person is involved in their community. On that note, I will let you guys know I will be eventually coming back to the SPTV stuff. There has just been a lot of information and obviously some situational things that have been going on. And I'm not here to like talk about drama. I'm over it, quite frankly. I'm just completely freaking over it. It's stupid. Grown men acting like children. I'm over it. So eventually, yeah, I'll come back to the SPTV thing. And if I'm being honest, I wanted to be a little bit petty and kind of leave the Headleys and render maybe waiting to see what the next move was with the information, right? Because I might have been wrong about the planes. I don't know. But if I was wrong, I might have been wrong about one. And if I was, the truth about the other plane, in my personal opinion, the truth that Virginia had brought to me, potentially, about the other plane. This might be why they haven't denied the claim officially. So I kind of want to let them be uncomfortable for a while. You know what I mean? I think that they can handle it. Little Forma Osa folks, right? I think that they can handle it, and obviously the Scientologists are lurking, and the ex-Scientologists, and all the drama, and the Satan simps, and Lucian Greaves, who has not accepted my challenge to a debate. Color me surprised. I'm still waiting, right? I'm still waiting, because I know that people have told him, and I know that they have. And I am going to continue to tag him on Twitter. I preferably would like to get his attention. Some people think that I'm trolling. I'm not. I am going to continue to tag best friends because I have learned recently that at least one other founder died. He died some time ago. I was not aware of this, but now that I know, I can simply put together what I have on my slide and I can add it to my PowerPoint because I want to get the attention of Best Friends Animal Society. I want to get the attention of Mr. Lucian Greaves of the Satanic Temple. You guys need to know that, like, y'all don't scare me, okay? You don't scare me. And I'm not saying that the situation isn't serious or that, the threat of danger is not real, but I am not scared. Come on. Batter up. Let's do it. Let's do it. There's just a lot of grown men out here and women, little Miss Julie kind of reminds me of Leah Remini, quite frankly, like, oh, I'm tough, I'm a girl boss, whatever. And then, they just go blocking and they want to ignore. Okay, that's fine. Cool take. If you think I'm going to stop asking questions, you're on drugs. And if not, maybe you should be. I don't know. I don't really know what to tell people. I'm just kind of rambling now because, whatever. Like, I had so much processed information thrown at me today that, like, my brain is just completely fried because I'm like, great. Another founder's dead. Oh, and another founder that I'm pretty sure is a Nazi. Pretty sure is like an actual Nazi. This might be like the tie. This is one of the founders that I have had such a hard time. It was just this little piece of information, but now also like knowing that he's dead. It is what it is. And whatever. I'm allowed to have an opinion. And so are you guys. And I want you guys to challenge me. You guys are very smart, and I'm so glad that you're here. But like I said, when it comes to the ultimate evil, I'm starting over from the beginning. And I'm going back to, I don't have an opinion about Terry Morey. I don't have an opinion about him, quite frankly. That's how I'm starting over. Because there's just been a lot of like people like, providing their opinions, and it's my brain, my autonomy. Do I still think that there's potentially a chance that he became, some sort of disinformation agent maybe later in his life? I don't know. But when I start over, I say I'm starting over. with the emotional investment and the excitement of the first read of the Processians version of the Ultimate Evil. I'm going to start over with that excitement and open mind and going on that, literary adventure. And I'm going to try my best to just keep an open mind going into the book. Because, like, apparently they removed an entire chapter, including Death Mask. Like, that whole chapter's gone. I think the prologue is gone. And there's no explanation as to why. I don't know who the hell, like, Josh Zeman and Lucien Greaves and these other people that signed these NDAs think that they are. But that version that I read isn't even his work. Do you know how frustrating that is? It's very frustrating, and it's my own fault. It's my own fault. I don't have anybody else to blame but myself. But I do think that people should be aware. People should absolutely be aware that there are Processians and Satanic Temple Processians who specialize in false memory syndrome, who are going out here and manipulating this man's work to create a narrative. The chapter is Death Mask. Half of Death Mask is gone. There's a paragraph in the epilogue concerning the process that was removed. I don't believe that Terry was sued. Ed Sanders was sued by the process. Well, I mean, it didn't go to trial. They lost in the UK, though. They completely lost. Josh Zeman probably made Andrew Crispo's artist friends very happy. I noticed the omission right away. I had no idea, guys. I had no clue that stuff was missing. So, Mr. Josh Zeman, Manny Grossman, Nicholas Schreck, Lucien Greaves. Yeah, we're starting over, guys. We're starting over. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay with starting over because I'm not in a rush. So as long as you guys continue to be patient with me and, I will try to be as honest with you about the next stream and whatever else we have going on, then we can just go on from there. But that's the truth. I had a ton of process information thrown at me, plus learning that the book wasn't the original, plus all of the stupid drama, and then just whatever, like, I don't feel good all the time, which is kind of also why I dyed my hair. I was like, well, the least that I can do is, freshen up my mug, right, as far as my hair goes. So we'll leave it here for now, since the stream has literally not gone how I wanted it to whatsoever at all. And I thank you guys for sticking around and being patient with me. You are the best. I will let you know I'm probably going to come back on tomorrow. Straight up, I'm going to probably come back on tomorrow. We'll talk about, maybe I'll just throw up some of the stuff about the process. And maybe I'll see if Restream is still going to be a little B, because if it is, I'm probably just going to switch the stupid streaming service. So if anybody has any recommendations, because I don't really like StreamYard, but this stuff, like, throws my whole game off. I had a great plan in my mind, but whatever. I guess we just got to go with the flow. So I'm going to run the exit, and I will let you guys know. I'll post it in the community section. That way you guys know if you want to get notifications, because YouTube has been unsubscribing people. Because, again, we are literally out here fighting demons, guys. So be safe, and I will talk to you all very soon.